What's going on? Today, I want to come to you and talk really quick about decision making and what frameworks you should use. Had opportunity to talk to a gentleman the last few days about some opportunities that he had come up and really figuring out how can he properly analyze the stakes of his decision. And it's probably a pretty common theme. We all have opportunities that we have present to us over time, and how do we figure out which opportunities are the best and which ones should we take and which ones should we avoid? And when I was in school, I got my undergrad from Rutgers, business economics. I got my MBA from George Washington. It means absolutely nothing, right? I think I learned more in the business of hard knocks, just being an entrepreneur, if I'm being honest. But the one term that I did learn is a valuable term. It's called the cost benefit analysis. So anytime you're faced with a decision, you should do this cost benefit analysis. And how that works is, you make a spreadsheet, and I'm trying to be fancy for y'all today, but you make the spreadsheet, right? And in the spreadsheet, first you look at what your costs are. Please pin work today. Figure out if it's going to work. Do you want to work? Do you want to work? No, you don't want to work? We're just working too before I came on live. It was just like, and then obviously live, it doesn't want to work. Let me see. Connected. See if it, there it goes. It's connected. We got business. All right. So you look at your cost on one side, and then you look at the benefit on the other side, right? So then when you look at your cost, and then when you look at the benefits, and you want to try to measure the same cost against the same benefit, right? So one of the costs is going to be dollars. That's going to be a cost, and what's going to be the return on the investment from that? Time is another cost, right? And then on here you got to look at opportunity costs, and that's where can you spend that time doing something else that could potentially be have a higher return. And you look at all these decisions, right? So indirect costs, you look at all this data, and then you try to come to a situation. And I think you have to realize a few things, that you won't always have all the information. So you have to do the best job possible of due diligence, looking at different opportunities, looking at different competitors, looking at different analysis, and really try to have as much information as possible before you make a decision. And then once you have that data, right, then you should look at the cost of doing something, and then look at the benefits, and then you'll be able to make a informed decision at that point. And that is very good, and that's typically how big companies make decisions. They look at all these spreadsheets, and they put forth on there all the costs, direct costs, indirect costs, opportunity costs, line them up. They look at their benefits, and then they just make a data decision. But one thing I want to talk to you about today is the cost of doing nothing. And there's a cost of inaction as well. And oftentimes people don't factor in that cost, whether it's money that you don't spend, whether it's a job that you don't take, whether it's a relationship that you don't start or that you end. There's a cost of inaction, and that cost sometimes is not really quantifiable because it's like you don't know what that is. However, it could be the most expensive cost there is. So a lot of times my belief is that we're one decision away. And the cost of doing nothing could be like dieting. The cost of you not getting, in shape. The cost of you not losing weight. What is that going to do with a potential, heart risk, heart attacks, anything like that? It could have been avoided if we'd have took action. The cost of not growing, scaling your business the right way by receiving coaching, by putting in systems and processes. Your business could still work, but how much better could it have been? How much stress could it relieve? The cost in relationships of getting into a relationship that's a want rather than a need, or not get into a relationship, and what does that do long term for you? So I just want you to consider, obviously, when making decisions, cost benefit analysis, writing them down, but also really consider the cost of doing nothing. Because every time I drive up the highway, there's a lot of dead squirrels. And squirrels, they run across the road, and when they see when they see your high beams, they freeze. And they freeze, and oftentimes they just get ran over. And I see people doing the same thing. They run, it's about to make, it's time to make a decision, and they freeze and don't do anything. And then someone else moves, and then they complain like, "Hey, I was gonna move, I was gonna do a decision." Well, time waits for no one. So the cost of an action, the cost of you not making a decision, can be very costly. So I often say, especially when I was a manager, multiple different people, like silence is acceptance. And if there's an opportunity for you to make a decision and you don't make a decision, and you feel like yourself, like I didn't decide either way. No, you decided by not speaking. Like that counts. So it could be as simple as what you want for eat, and you don't say anything. I don't know. I don't care. And then someone comes home like I didn't say I wanted that. You didn't say you wanted anything. So you don't get a pick. So when you're silent and when you don't make a decision, oftentimes you don't get to choose. You're not designing your life. You're accepting your life. So I want to encourage you to start designing your life. Start figuring out what that looks like. Start figuring out what decisions need to get made, and put yourself in position, get the information, cost benefit analysis, and make decisions. And guess what? A lot of times you get so caught up because, oh man, it's not the right decision. Like, there's going to be a probability of failure. There's going to be a probability that it doesn't work. There's always going to be a probability. So what your job is to increase those probabilities by the processes, by the systems, and by the work that you're going to put in. Because you can go down a road and make a decision that another decision have higher probabilities. But because you were willing to put in the work, because you were willing to see it through, because you were dedicated, you can still make it work. So I just want to encourage someone today that, man, if you're on the fence about something, really get some information. Like it's empowering to yourself. It brings you peace, happiness, fulfillment when you're in a position of power, when you get to design your life, and when you make decisions and you just don't sit back and let life happen to you and then you say, oh, well, I didn't know. No, you know. If you don't know, now I hope you know that if you don't say anything, it's not in action, that's actually a decision. So you no longer could be let off the hook and say, oh, you didn't say anything. Okay, well, that still counts. All right? So be brave, man. Be courageous. You're not always going to be right. But guess what? As long as you're breathing, man, you got chances to rectify, to pivot, to make things right at the end. So don't get caught up. Build failure into your business plan, right? Build mistakes into your business plan because there's by trying to avoid mistakes, right? And by trying doing something, you're not gonna be able to grow and become what you really were destined to become because that fear would just leave you shackled. So you gotta be willing to go out there, be brave, be courageous, do the work to get the information, make the decision, and then go. And if we did that more often than not, we won't be stuck in the same places we are. We'll constantly grow, we'll constantly shift and increase where we want to be. All right. So that's what I got for you today. I got some calls lined up for today. Busy day on the schedule, but just wanted to tap in because I get that a few times in terms of your ability or the inability to make decisions. So I just want to encourage someone, man. You got this. Do the information, do the work, make those decisions, and then stick by them and see it through. All right, that's what I got for you today. Hope y'all have a fantastic day. Any more information, questions from me, definitely hit me in the chat, and I will, talk to y'all soon. All right, have a great Saturday. Y'all be good.